What's going on, Troopers? Welcome to the Trooper Transmission. And today we got my man Andrew coming to us from down south. He's a Roll Tide fan, so Roll
That's
Tide.
right, roll tide.
And, Roll Tide. And I want to have him come on and share his story on how he was able to get his gains in the gym and kind of his experience nerding out, working out with everyone in Fit Nerd Academy. So, dude, appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's wind that clock back and take us back to what was going on 6, 7, 8 months ago in your life and what ultimately inspired you to be like, all right, cool. Like I want to really dial things in.
Yeah, so even further back than that, I had played around with trying to work out, trying to get in shape. I had never been super strong. Always had a pretty decent engine, especially where legs are concerned and heart rate and stuff like that. But I really fell out of it. COVID-19 happened, but then after that, I tried to get back in the gym, and then life would happen, and I tried to get back in the gym, and life would happen, and kept going through that cycle. And about what, 4 or 5 months ago, I went in for a doctor visit and was diagnosed with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease at 33 years old. And that was a huge wake-up call. It's like, whoa, that's pretty young to have that going on. Doctor was like, yeah, you need to exercise, adjust diet. Let's try lifestyle first. I was like, cool. And I did not want to take any chances. So I started looking around locally for nutritionists, for personal trainers, things like that. Everyone was booked. Could not find anyone available. We are a decent sized municipality where I live, but it's just the supply and demand issue, not lots of demand, not enough supply. So started kind of looking out online and had seen a couple of your videos, Paul, and was like, you know what? Okay, what is this? And kind of delved into it, and I was like, okay, well, I'm going to sign up for an onboarding call and just see what's up. And when we talked, and with all the approach and the community aspect and really the accountability aspect of that, we were going to meet every week. So this wasn't just an online, hey, here's your program, go do it, see you in 6 months. This was a, hey, here's your program, and I'm going to talk to you in a week, and we're going to see what worked, what didn't work. And if you haven't been in the gym, we're going to talk about why that's not working. So that was kind of the selling point, was that it was not totally off board. It was, or totally hands off. It was personal, and it was consistent and had accountability.
Yeah, and much more
So
hands-on. And for you, you were looking for that one for the diagnosis, but I remember too, one of the things we talked about was just like different goals that you had strength-wise in the gym and, kind of like moving away from the diagnosis, but also moving towards the performance and the achievement. And as someone with an athletic background, that's kind of how you're wired too. I remember that being a big part of the conversation. And
yeah,
so
absolutely.
I'm in Seattle, you're in Alabama.
Yeah.
Were there any concerns you had working remote, knowing that you initially wanted to go local, or was it more you were like, oh yeah, like this is the kind of support that I'm looking for? You kind of were talking to that.
Yeah, so there was some concern, primarily on like form feedback. But luckily with the form feedback in the app, it was like we talked about this. I had a question about pin delay rows very early on. It's like, hey, I'm actually driving with my legs a ton. Is that right? Is that wrong? And you're like, hey, video it, put it in the form feedback, and I'll get back to you, or someone who is a coach here will get back to you. And I think I had more than one person that you mentioned in that call get back to me and say, hey, actually, we don't want to be doing that. See if you can go, if you can't do 135 with plates to get the bar higher off the ground, see if you can go to the station if there are bumper plates in the gym or something like that. Or if you can set it off the ground with stops or whatever those are called. I don't know the technical term, but just
Mhm.
get the bar up off the ground a little bit. So I wasn't having to use as much leg drive, even at a lower weight, if I wasn't capable of doing 135 initially, which I was not. Um, and that one change made my form better and actually saw massive increases in performance because I went from, I think, trying to Pendlay row 95 and not doing it properly to within 2 weeks Pendlay rowing over 105. So
That's
yeah.
awesome. And so, yeah, let's maybe talk through some of shifts that you made? Because obviously you'd been in the gym, you'd
Yeah.
trained before, but what were some of the things where you had been looking, let's say down door two or hallway two, and then all of a sudden we're like, hey, let's align things and go down this direction. Like, what were some of those things that were like 5-degree shifts or 25-degree shifts for you?
Um, that's an interesting question. So I think a lot of it was having a program
Mhm.
instead of just being like, oh, hey, I watched this. For instance, like the Buff Dudes, they have a YouTube channel. Love their stuff. It's fun, it's silly, it's goofy. And they were like, hey, if you want to start working out, do this. I was like, okay, cool, I'll do that. But not having the feedback, not having the accountability. And also, it was like, okay, well, they're doing it with a lot of weight and they're buff. I'm not. Where do I start? Like weight wise, how do I work up to what my one rep max is? When I don't have a gym buddy, how do I do this safely? And so having someone to check in and be like, "Hey, I've never done a pin leg row like we were talking earlier. How do I do this more properly?" And the feedback on that. And hey, start light, let's work up. But having the structure to do that really helped because I think that was part of the problem early on is like doing 5x5s and whatnot. It was like, oh yeah, I can go and do a 5x5 and I'm out in 35 minutes and I don't really feel like I mean I worked, but I wasn't putting on I wasn't dropping a lot of fat, I wasn't putting on a lot of muscle, I wasn't increasing weights. And I think understanding the time frame of how long it takes to drop that fat, to look a little different, to put on muscle, even if you don't see it, because you'll add 2.5 change plates on each side of the bar, which is 5 pounds and doesn't seem like a lot, but it is. But understanding the time frame of which that takes really helped me stay focused and understand that previously I was expecting bigger results faster.
Mm. Yeah, I love that you mentioned that, and not a lot of people do because if expectations are set in the front end, like let's say you're sailing from, the US to England. I don't know where this
Yeah.
ship's gonna land, but I promise it'll land somehow. It's like
Yeah.
if the expectation is like, hey, you're gonna run into storms, or it should take 3 weeks, then you can be more prepared when you run into storms, or it takes 3 weeks. But if you don't know it's supposed to take that long, you might turn back at two and be like, we're lost, let's go, and give up or switch. And that's just like the first weird analogy my brain went to. But
Yeah.
like if you can set the expectation of, oh, I should see 5 pounds added per X amount of weeks, or I should see a pound of body weight average per week, or whatever that rate of gain is, then you don't give up when you don't see what was expected, which might have been, oh, I'm going to add 10 pounds of muscle in a month. Is that kind of
Right.
like what you were saying?
Yeah, well, that and I think again, kind of the encouragement to go a little bit heavier
Yeah.
sometimes was big because again, being just a solo guy in the gym, not knowing anybody, and feeling kind of awkward of like, hey, can you spot me on 95-pound bench press? That I always felt kind of like I was wasting people's time, if that makes sense. Because
Yeah.
there are people in there that are like getting it and they're bigger than me. And it's like, I don't want to ask this guy who like I've seen bench 225 to spot me on 95. So you know what? I'll put tens on each side of the bar and I'll do 65. Well, that wasn't enough work.
Yeah.
And and I attacked this training with a different attitude, knowing that it had a time frame, right?
Yeah.
That I only had was about 4 months, and that was it. And it was like, okay, I need to push myself a little bit more. So even if it wasn't you saying, hey, I want you to try and add 5 pounds total to your lift next week, it was also me going, hey, I only have this program for 12 weeks, 4 months. So I need to push it. So it's like instead of trying to ask someone to spot me at 95, maybe I'm not comfortable at benching 95 when I start, but I'm still going to start heavier than 65.
Yeah.
So
So it's
maybe I'll
not,
start at 85 and I don't need someone to spot me, but then I'm actually going to do the work and I'm going to put on muscle and I'm going to get stronger.
yeah. So it pushed you out of your comfort zone where it's super easy. I'll catch myself doing this. Okay, I'm going to do a 5x5 or 4x6. Yeah, this weight feels good at six. Like it's hard, but there's a difference between it's hard and I'm making poop faces as I through the last two reps. Like I think we've all
Yeah.
been there when it actually is hard. Did you end up ever having someone spot you or asking anyone to spot you?
Yeah. So after a week or two, no, maybe it was a little bit. longer, 3 weeks in, there were a couple guys I knew who went to the same gym. And I couldn't always go at the same time as them, but there was one time I did, and one of the guys was like, "Hey, he's doing work and I'm up here walking the track, not doing a lot of work." And so he was like, "Hey, can I hop in with you occasionally?" And I was like, "Yeah." And so that worked out and we spotted each other. But then when I went back to work, because I'm a school teacher, so the school year started, and that was another hurdle. He and I could no longer work out. So when I was doing my tests, actually, what was it, last week? I think it was. Um, there were a couple guys I'd seen in there a few times. We kind of recognized each other but never talked, and I felt much more comfortable because I had seen them, and they had seen me, and it just felt like, hey, you've seen me put in the work. And I so now, even if I am, quote unquote weak, or not lifting as much as some other people in the gym, you've seen me put in the work, so I'm not just here once a month trying to ego lift and blowing out joints and things like that. It's like I've actually been doing the grind.
Dude, I love that you said that. And you can almost picture the skit that you maybe see on YouTube of like two guys in the gym, like, like the gorilla grunt, like,
Yeah,
I see you've been doing work. But it's when you've put in the work, there's almost this confidence of like, okay, I deserve to ask for more because I've put in the work, right? And a lot
right.
of times people are like, oh, I don't feel like I should ask for a spot. And it might be like a confidence thing, or they think the guy in the gym who's been lifting for 20 years is a big scary dude when half the time they know what you're going through and want to help you go, grow and progress, and they respect the grind. But you almost feel like you can ask the universe of more because you've put more in to deserve that. I don't know if that was
Right.
for you, but that's been the case for me where, you you go through a program, whether it's education based or fitness based, and you're like, you know what? Like, I'm gonna ask for a little bit more because I've put in the work and I deserve it. So,
Yeah.
for you, what were some of the most like biggest wins, proudest achievements, things that maybe you didn't expect to be a PR or something that you did, but you were able to knock out?
Yeah. So all my lifts got heavier, which was awesome. One of my goals at the beginning was to bench more, because in high school I played soccer, continued to play like intramural sports during college. I didn't play any sports in college. I didn't think I was good enough until, well, that's a story for a different time. But legs were never really that big of an issue for me. But I knew upper body was a goal to kind of catch up to where I felt my legs were at. And so 4 months ago, I don't think I could have single repped 135. Um, the other day when I was doing max effort of 5 reps at three, I started at 135 and I said that was too light. And I moved up to 155. And so I did 3 of the 4 sets at 155, or 3 of the 5 sets at 155. I can't remember how many sets there were total, but I know I did it at about 3 of them at 155, which, to do 3 reps at 155 3 different times was huge. It was more than I expected.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. Because I remember our initial conversation, it was, all right, let's get two plates on the bar and every
Whoa,
single,
2 plates.
well, one on each side. So
Yeah,
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 one plate on each side.
yeah. I was like,
Uh,
hold up, that's gonna be a while.
yeah, but it was this really cool, methodical. Every week we'd be like, all right, cool. How did it feel? What went well? What didn't go well? We would break it down and just seeing you hit, like, you're like, all right, I hit 8 for 95. I hit 8 for 105. I hit 8 for 115. I hit 8 for 125 or whatever it was. And
Yeah.
then, all right, cool, let's test. And then you're just like, oh, I think you hit like 175.
The first test I hit 145, so that was 10 pounds over my initial target. And then
Yep.
in the last test, I think it was, yeah, 175
Yeah.
thereabouts.
Yeah, which is
Yeah.
awesome. And it's like, cool. Now you kind of see what that process looks like, and then you just rinse and repeat. And I'm pumped to see where you're at in a year. Maybe you will be
Yeah.
that guy in the gym, like, oh, this guy's new. I should spot him.
Yeah.
All right. So anyone watching this, maybe they're kind of where you started. Maybe they were a soccer athlete and they're trying to build their upper body, or they're trying to just see any kind of progress, wherever they're at. What would you say
Yeah.
like your three keys to success are? Where you're like, hey, focus on these three things. You're going to get a lot of bang for your buck.
Yeah. So one of the things I've always been a huge proponent of, is prep your week. And what I mean by that is mentally. and physically. Physical ways to prep your week: cook, meal prep. It makes the week easier. It's not the easiest thing to do. It's not the most glorious thing to do. Also, find ways that work for you. A lot of meal prep places have you cook a lot of chicken in a pan or bake a lot of chicken. I don't personally like that. I think the chicken ends up getting drier, especially. And I mean, we have pretty warm summers down here in Alabama. So heating up the kitchen is kind of one of those unspoken rules. You just don't do it in the summer in Alabama. So I would grill my chicken.
Mm.
And so that was a huge help because not only did I have more room on my grill, and yeah, I know I'm in a privileged position to have a grill, not everyone does, but if you do, if you're a dad out there and you have a grill, for instance, grill your chicken because you can grill all of it in one sitting while you sit outside, enjoy the outdoors. Resist the temptation to have a beer while you're doing it if you can, or that's your one a week or what have you.
Yeah.
Um, but so being able to grill the chicken and then having a rice cooker helped a lot for me in meal prep because it meant that I could throw the rice in the rice cooker, go outside and grill the chicken. Then the rice and the chicken was done. So all I had to worry about was veggies, and those cook fast in a pan, so I didn't really heat up the kitchen that much. So then I could divide it out and have my meal prep for the week. So that was huge for me. Um, and tracking it early on, especially when I had that motivation and had the time to track everything, helped me because then when my schedule got a little bit more strict, well, I knew what the meals were. I knew the macro breakdown. So I no longer had to track as stringently. And especially since aesthetics were not my focal point, it was performance. I knew that as long as I ate, a certain combination of the 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 meals that I had kind of in my repertoire, that I would hit my protein. And if I was unsure one day, because maybe that chicken thigh or that chicken breast is a little bit smaller than other ones, it's like, okay, make sure to hammer a protein shake. So that was pretty huge. That helped.
Yeah, dude, I love that. And it's keeping it simple and
Yeah,
simple scales, fancy fails. So I love that you're able to find something that's simple and
yeah,
find a little system that work too, right? Rice cooker with the grill. And I love that you said making it something you enjoy. Maybe that is when
yeah.
you blast the music, have a beer,
Oh
and
yeah,
you make, I think that's like a little cheat code when it comes to building habits that maybe you don't want, is attach something you do like with it.
right.
Like if you don't like waking up and working out in the morning, like one of my favorite little snacks is a mush. It's like an overnight oats. If I've got one
Okay.
of those in the fridge, 5 a.m. alarm goes off, I'm downstairs because I
Yeah.
want the mush. And if I have that mush and I'm up, might as well work out. I'm already up.
Yeah, that's me and my breakfast smoothie.
Yep. Hell
Yeah.
yeah. 2 and 3. What do you got?
Oh, 2 and 3. Two, the heaviest piece of equipment in the gym is the gym door.
Mm, that's a mic drop. I love that.
Yeah. There were times where I would have my gym bag at work and I would maybe be hungry because my lunch break's a little bit early because when you teach, you get it when you get it. And that's just kind of how it is. So I think my lunches are around 10:45. So by the time 3:10 rolls around when the bell rings, well, it's been a while since I've eaten, and it's a 25-minute drive to the gym. So, it's maybe a little bit grumbly because lunch is maybe a little bit of a lighter meal type of thing, right? So having the gym bag at work to throw it in the car helped because it's like I'm staring at it. I brought it to work today.
Yep.
It's in my hand. I'm going. And there were sometimes like maybe something happened at home because I've been building a garage, right? And it's like, oh, I have to go take care of this at the garage. And I would go home and take care of the thing. And it was kind of like, well, now I'm home. And it was like getting over that mental hurdle. And it's like, just go. And once I was through the door, none of that mental hangup was there anymore. I was in the building, I was ready to work.
Yep.
So, yeah, that gym door is the heaviest piece of equipment.
Yep. Dude, that's a great one-liner. I am stealing that.
You're welcome to it.
Yeah, I'm stealing that. Hit me with number 3. You got first two are solid.
Number three. Um, that is tough.
feel like you got a Nick Sabanism or something you can drop on us, some of that.
I mean, there's the tried and true trust the process, right? And like not Rich Froning, but oh my gosh, the guy that won all the CrossFit championships after him, Matt Frazier.
Mhm.
Hard work pays off. I like to
Yep.
steal that. I steal that in class all the time because I teach advanced classes, and the kids are like, "Oh my gosh, I've never made a B before, let alone a C, and I've got a C." I was like, "Yeah, well, have you practiced writing? Have you done this? Have you done the little things that build, right? Did you take notes? Because I don't check notes. You're an advanced student. It's on you, right? And the students that do the little things, and I'm transferring this even in my life of like, I'm telling the students this and I know it. So now just apply it to what I'm doing now. It's the little things. It's did I drink enough water? You know, did I have my breakfast smoothie? Because that's a huge thing. Like if I don't have my breakfast smoothie, it's almost replaced coffee in my mood. It used to be if I didn't get my coffee, man, it's not a great day. Now if I don't get my breakfast smoothie, it's like, oh man, I just don't feel right today. Well, yeah, I didn't have the calories, I didn't have the protein, I didn't have all that. So it's the little things. Set yourself up for success, and the hard work pays off. And sometimes the hard work is, like we've said, prepping your week mentally and physically and lifting that heavy gym door.
Yep.
Yeah.
And with the little things too, and you'll appreciate this as an athlete, it's that extra rep. It's
Yeah.
that, oh, I've got one more set of planks. I want to be done, but I'm going to do it anyway. And I love
Yeah.
that. Love that you mentioned that because it is like it all builds. And I think it all kind of comes around full circle with those little shortcuts erode your confidence on test day,
Yeah.
whether that's in the classroom or on the bench. So don't skip those. Dude, thank you for the wisdom, the one-liners, and just for being an awesome human and just absolutely crushing the process. It's been so fun watching you go on this journey, and I can't wait to see what is in the store for you, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for all the guidance and the feedback, the fun talks about college football and everything else.
Yeah, you got it, man.
Yeah.
Take care.